Hi friends, it's Carly and I'm back with another review. We are still working our way through the Ghostbusters Plasma Series and we're down to our final 3 figures. Today we will be looking at Dana Barrett as Zuul. So this is one I was really excited for because what scene is more iconic than there is no Dana, there is only Zuul. So this is one of the best moments of the film. I was really looking forward to seeing how the sculpt on this one would come out, especially because if there's one thing that can be said about Sigourney Weaver, she has a very distinct, very classic look, and it would be really important for me in light of the other sculpts that this one be great. So we'll talk a little bit about how I feel about the sculpt on this figure. And as we take a closer look right now, I'll talk about some things that right off the bat are sort of upsetting with this one. First of all, she did not come with an accessory. Now, I know that in the context of the film, it would be kind of hard to throw an accessory in with her. There wasn't one necessarily that would make sense, but as a set with every figure coming with some type of accessory, it's bothersome that she doesn't. Surely they could have figured something out, whether it was a swapped out head or even if it were just a carton of fried eggs, who knows what it could be, but there should be something. And in light of the fact that 3 of the 4 Ghostbusters themselves did not come with blast accessories, I'm starting to feel like the accessories, the small side accessories are sort of lagging on this set now, because with nothing to go with her, there's a lot to kind of look for to make this figure worth the $19.99 that it was besides just the bath piece. So I'm really disappointed by that. And as I said, I don't think there's a really clear answer to what she should have come with, but she should have come with something, absolutely. And I feel like, the easiest solution would have been an additional head and an extra pair of hands. And to have her come with nothing in this line is really sort of a miss for me. Now, getting to her face, this is reminding you, this is Dana Barrett as Zuul. So she's already possessed, which means that her eyes are slightly different. She definitely has a more fixed look about her face. But all of that said, not making excuses for the sculpt, I've been so happy with the way that the Ghostbusters themselves turned out. There is something about this facial sculpt that just isn't right for me. It just doesn't work. And I'm going to show you what she looks like up close. Now, to say that it's a bad sculpt is not fair and it's not right. It's a really stunning sculpt, but something about it just misses, and it does not look like Sigourney Weaver as Dana/Zuul to me. There's something just a little bit, she has such a defined jaw and such a distinct, such a distinct look. It's hard to describe how her, what her look exactly is. It's just Sigourney Weaver. That's just how she's blessed to look. But something about this just misses for me, and I think that it's in the jaw. While she does have a really defined jawline, I think that this jawline is set out just a smidge too far. So she's just a little bit too wide in the lower portion of her jaw right here. It makes the proportion of the top of her head look very thin, and it makes the big hair look like a cover for something that was done inappropriately. And I might be being a little bit hard on this sculpt because, as I said, as far as just a face goes, this is a beautiful sculpt, and the paintwork is gorgeous, the eyes look amazing, the makeup is amazing, but for some reason it's just one off of Sigourney Weaver for me. It just doesn't look like her enough to me compared to all of the other figures. Is it a really nice looking sculpt? Yes. Is it as good as the others? It's just not, and I don't really know why that is, but I've been looking at her a lot, really sort of getting in her face, and for some reason I'm just not happy with the final result as it's supposed to represent her in the film. So I would really love to hear thoughts on that. I have a feeling I'm probably going to get some blowback, but I just had to be honest. In this case, for me personally, the sculpt isn't hitting the way that I feel like it should. All of that said, let's go ahead and look at the articulation. I really, first of all, love the dress. I love that it's flowing and in motion. You know, she makes herself really sexy to meet the Keymaster, and I think all of that reads here. I think it looks really, really great, and you know, it's sort of ethereal and demonic the way that she is. So I really like the, you know, the costume and everything. I think it looks really great. Her head, even though she has this sort of big, bulky hair piece, essentially, her head does turn easily all the way around, and we do have a little bit of motion up and down. So forward is easy, although it does create sort of a funny bowl in the back of her head, but it's not too bad really. It makes sense for an 80s perm. And we get a little bit of a look up. Not enough for me. You know, whenever there's something obstructing the movement in the head, it's never enough for me, but at least that has been consistent across the board with all of these figures. None of them seem to really have the motion upward that I like to see, and as I said in my last video, these are all pretty much, when you're posing them, it seems like they are just intended to be head-on characters, which, you know, is a little bit disappointing for a highly articulated figure, but it's not the worst thing that could happen, especially when you know, the face looks nice, even if it doesn't look to me like who it should. So let's see. I want to see if she has butterfly joints like we discovered that the guys do, and she does not. So in the shoulders, we've got just the lateral motion that we're used to having. It does go up pretty high. So as you can see, when you have her wrist like this, it's kind of a creepy pose. So they kind of hyperextend up, but she doesn't have butterfly joints that go forward and back. We do not have all of the turning in both arms that I would expect to see. So we do not have anything in the bicep here, which is disappointing. There's no reason that we shouldn't have that. And although the costume goes down over her elbows, we do have turning in the arm here on this side, on the puff sleeve side. And then this sleeve itself turns, but it creates kind of a funny looking joint when you turn it. So it's really not great looking when you turn it all the way around. The arms are just a little wonky for me. She does have a full range of motion in her wrist all the way around, and her wrist, unlike the guys, actually does go back and forth like this instead of side to side. So that is excellent. That's what I like to see. And I like the hand pose. I like the way that her hands look. I like that they're very small and delicate and feminine. And I like the chosen pose, that they're just sort of relaxed. So if you put them by her side, they're just sort of, you know, just a relaxed hand with no particular pose. I think that's really appropriate for this character. And I think it looks really good because, you know, Sigourney Weaver, as strong as her facial features are, she has a very slight sort of, I mean, strong, but delicate type figure. She's slender. She's tall and slender. And so I like that they captured that even under this voluminous costume. So we don't have any motion in the chest here, but we do have a waist that has a full range of motion around like this, leaning back, leaning forward, and turning 360 degrees. So they make up for what we normally get in the chest that we did not get with the guys because of their proton packs completely in her waist, which is really great. And it's a you know, smart, sort of economic way to do that. Now, because her skirt is made out of this soft rubbery vinyl, we cannot get lateral leg movement. We can't move past the dress. We can kick this left leg out a little bit, but that's as much as we get there. You can't move. The thighs are, it seems like they're jointed to be able to have a lateral motion out front and back, but because of the costume, you can't do it. So that is frustrating. They do have the turn in the thigh. Try to show, you can see right here that we can turn, well, you can't see it, but you can turn in the thigh all the way around. When we get into the legs, I start to have strange feelings about this figure because the legs are almost too plain. Now, I I don't want to be overly critical about a figure who's supposed to be just bare-legged, because she is. The sculpt on them is fine, although you can't really see them that well under the dress, but something about them is too plain for me. Maybe it's because we can't really use them, so they just feel like stems sticking down. I think that might be part of it. Having the turn in the thigh is good for, you know, a side pose like that. It does go 360 degrees, but that's all we're getting besides double jointed knees. Now you can bend this leg all the way back on the slit side, but on this side, the skirt with no slit, we can't bend her leg like that. So that's frustrating. And then we do have ankles that move forward and back and all the way around the way that they should. Actually, they go 360 degrees, while the guys only have the ball and socket motion that an actual foot has, with the foot facing forward and the ball and socket moving like this. Her foot actually turns all the way around in the ball and socket, which, since she's possessed, can make for some really interesting poses. So this figure is simple in a lot of ways. The body is simple. There aren't as many points of articulation as we got with the other figures because the costume itself sort of necessitates a simplicity. I do think that they met most of our needs in a creative way with her movement in the waist, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of disappointed in this figure, and I hate to say that because I've been really excited to see her, and I've been really excited to talk about her, but when you get her in hand, she just doesn't do enough for me, with me feeling also like the facial sculpt is still just like not quite right, and then not being able to use all of her body and not being able to move her and not having any accessories. I feel a little bit ripped off by this figure, quite frankly. I mean, if there were no accessories to add with her, then give us our 3 blast accessories in her box. I think that would be fair, but I don't know. This is such an iconic moment, and I was so excited that this was a part of this series, and I have to say it really just falls a little bit flat for me. There is good craftsmanship here. Like I said, the facial sculpt is nice. It just doesn't really look like her enough to me. The hair is cool, but they missed an opportunity to sort of dry brush and give it some depth and color. The costume is stunning and looks really windblown and ethereal and sort of mystical, but it hinders so much of the body's movement that it makes the figure almost, there's no point in articulating her. She could just be a statue. And giving a full range of motion in the feet is kind of a bonus, you know, if you want to pose her in supernatural ways, but not being able to bend the knees kind of negates all of that for me. So it's a little bit frustrating that this figure wasn't better. I think that an opportunity could have been had here to give her cloth clothing, something that I, in the past, have wondered why Hasbro doesn't try to do a little bit more. We've seen a couple of cloth capes in the past, and I think that that would be a, you know, there's probably labor involved in creating cloth clothing, but for something like a simple shift dress, a simple cape, a simple piece of fabric, I think that it would be something that would enhance the figure and ultimately help the consumer to feel like they're getting their value on a figure like this. If I could pose her and move her better because she was in a cloth shift dress, I would feel better overall about the fact that I'm not really happy with the facial sculpt, you know, and its accuracy. So, you know, they can't all be winners. I can't be super excited about every single figure that I get, but I absolutely don't hate this figure. I mean, she's gonna look great, and in the context of the other characters being posed together, it's obvious who she is, and it's a pretty neat rendering, to be real. I mean, she doesn't look horrible. I just think they could have done her a little bit better in light of how excellent the Ghostbusters themselves are. So that is my review of the Dana Barrett figure. I think it's so fun and funny that she got her own little patch on the box, just like the guys have on their jumpsuits. I really liked that carry through, and I think it looks neat, especially with news that there is going to be a new Ghostbusters with the original cast. Maybe she'll be joining the team, since she's definitely a person who supernatural beings are drawn to. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think of Dana if you've gotten her, or just from what you can see in this video. If I'm being too hard on her, let me know why you think that is and what you think the strengths of the sculpt on this character are. I will be doing another video tomorrow. It will be the final figure, Gozer, and then we will be looking at the Terror Dog bath altogether the following day. Thank you guys so much for watching my videos. I'm so grateful for all of your comments, your likes, your sharing my videos. I'm really appreciative of that, and I'm having so much fun with you. So if you guys keep telling me what you'd like to see, I'll keep making them. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, friends.